What's up, Niner Nation, red and gold crazies? How are you doing on this Saturday before the big playoff matchup with our San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys? If you're like me, you're heavily awaiting this matchup with angst because you know what I know is that we're going to roll over the Cowboys big time. We're going to roll into their stadium and take it over. I hope it's a sea of red, nothing but red jerseys all over the place. That's what I want to see. Just like we saw last week in Los Angeles, where the San Francisco 49ers fans wonderfully and amazingly took over the SoFi Stadium. So jumping right into it, this is going to be a hell of a matchup, tell you the truth. Let's talk Dallas Cowboys for a second. Early on, I think on paper, everybody knew that this team, like so many different Cowboy teams before it, had a lot of talent on paper. Although through injuries and other things, we saw that they didn't always make it come together. Then they go out and acquire a defensive coordinator and ex-head coach Dan Quinn, who has done a phenomenal job with the Dallas Cowboys defense this season and is currently up for a coaching job. I know there's been a lot of interest in him, although I don't know if Jerry Jones is going to want to part ways with him. What I heard is that he wants to retain him heavily. Just a heads up, as we speak, the Bengals are up 7-3 on the Las Vegas Raiders right now. I have the Bengals knocking off the Raiders. Later on tonight, of course, is the AFC East matchup with the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. I also have the Buffalo Bills winning that one. Getting back to the Cowboys, yeah. Dan Quinn did a phenomenal job this year. And again, they had a great amount of talent coming into the season. Dak Prescott was a question mark because everyone had seen that horrific injury he had last year and wondered what what would be of him this year. Would he get back to what he was? Uh, Zeke Elliott at running back. The wonderful and amazing wide receiver trio of CeeDee Lamb, Mari Cooper, Michael Gallup, tight end Dalton Schultz, who we saw coming into his own last year. That great offensive line that they've had, and of course the defense, the defensive unit, the great DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, Leighton Vander Esch, whole bunch of talent this team has had, and they did a great job this season. Early on, I remember telling everyone that I thought that the Dallas Cowboys were very legit, and obviously that worked out. That that assumption worked out pretty well. I watched them play various times this year, and I felt that they were a very tight squad. In fact, I think I have a newfound form of respect for Dak Prescott. He should be comeback player of the year after the season he had and the injury that he had. Great season. Um, that being said, they were clicking on all cylinders, playing in a very weak NFC East division, of course. The Giants, absolute garbage. Uh, the Washington football team, not as good a year as they did last year. And the Philadelphia Eagles, a young team still growing. So the Cowboys were the class of that division. And looking at this current season, they opened up the season in Tampa Bay where they lost. Then they were able to knock off the Chargers to even things up 1-1. To be fair, the Chargers are just the same team that we've seen the last 3 years. And you can never be sure about the Chargers. But you can be sure about one thing, that the Chargers are never going to be able to close it out because they never do. You can't count on them. Just look at the game last weekend, the overtime loss to the Raiders. You knew that was coming. Okay, you knew it. Anyway, the Cowboys then knock off the Eagles. They knock off the Panthers. So not the hardest to schedule so far. 3-1. They knock off the Giants. They're 4-1. They do knock off the Patriots in overtime in Week 6 to go 5-1. That was an interesting game. They knocked off the Vikings 6-1. Lost to the Broncos, which was a surprising loss, 30-16. They lost at home in that one. Of course, the Broncos this past season, really not known for their offense, but their defense was very tight, and they did this without Von Miller, and they did this with an injured Bradley Chubb, and they did it with an offense built around Teddy Bridgewater, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. Had a lot of injuries to their wide receiver corps during this as well. In Week 10, they knocked off the Atlanta Falcons with a 43-3 blowout, and then they went to Kansas City and lose 19-9. They lose in overtime to the Las Vegas Raiders 36-33. That was a very good game, by the way. And then they went on a 4-game winning streak where they knocked off the Saints at New Orleans. They knocked off Washington in Washington. And once again, they knocked off the dog shit Giants in New York to go 10-4. I'm sorry. Yes. And then they knocked off Washington again at home in Dallas, 56-14. And they went 11-4. And then, of course, the last 2 games of the season, they lost to Arizona and they knocked off the Eagles. So if you look at their schedule from a whole, okay, lost to the Buccaneers, right? So 0-1 against a winning team. They were able to knock off, well, the best teams that they knocked off, honestly, were the Patriots, and that's about it. The runner-up to that would be the Philadelphia Eagles. So I guess, in a sense, you could say they didn't really beat anybody great, but their record is exactly what it is, 12-5. And in their division, they had a lot of luck, of course. Like we said, not the best division. They knocked off the Eagles twice. They knocked off the Giants twice. And they knocked off Washington twice. You can't go by that. You can't go by that. They were 6-0 in their division, but that don't mean shit. Their division was pure dog shit. Don't go by that. You look at the teams they lost to. Well, they lost to a Tampa Bay Buccaneer team that's a very good team. Denver Broncos, not a very good team, but very competitive team. They lost to, let's see, 1, 2, 3 AFC teams in the Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, and Las Vegas Raiders. 3 AFC West teams, which is interesting. And then they dumped one to the Arizona Cardinals. For the most part, in their losses, they were in every game except for the Denver Bronco one. They didn't keep the Denver Bronco game close, as they had lost 30-16. Their defense is, I think Bart Scott had said that their defense is ranked 20th, which is interesting, because as good as defense has gotten, they still have struggled this year, which is good for us. Looking at they've given up a lot of yards on defense as well. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And down the stretch, they tightened up. Their defense definitely has gotten better as the season has gone on. I mean, they've gotten great play out of rookie Micah Parsons, right? Without a doubt. I mean, that guy has played. He doesn't look like a rookie to me. He's playing like a well-seasoned veteran who knows this game very well. And I think it's very rare that happens. And they've also gotten great play from Trevon Diggs, of course, who is in his second season and had 11 interceptions, which is phenomenal. So they've gotten a lot of good play out of those two guys along with various other players on defense. And I think that Dan Quinn's been a perfect fit for them, been a huge help for them. And of course, it shows. It definitely shows. Tight group, but let's talk something else. They haven't faced off against a team like the 49ers at all this year. 49ers right now are by far the most dangerous team in football, and I'll tell you why. We've seen them last week, especially, was a perfect example of why they're so dangerous. They go into SoFi Stadium. They're down 17-0. Okay? And they come back against a very highly powered offensive Ram team, but a very overrated team. They come back. Despite Jimmy G throwing 2 picks, that he comes back. The Niners can beat you various different ways. We've seen it all year long. Obviously, they are an amazing running team led by a very underrated and great offensive line who has played lights out this season. They have killed opponents with their running game. Earl Mitchell, just an amazing rookie season. And they can plug and play whoever back there was running back and have luck. I mean, with the ability they have with their offensive line as well, the blocking capabilities of fullback Kyle Juszczyk and tight end, the great George Kittle, there's no telling how much more damage they could do to teams. That's one thing the Cowboys have to worry about tomorrow. Okay? Another thing is their passing game. Deebo Samuel's an all-pro. Brandon Ayuk is playing better and better each week. George Kittle's one of the best tight ends in football. We're getting great play out of Juwan Jennings. Okay? And looking at the Dallas defense, they've given up over 100 yards to opposing offenses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 games out of 17. Not too good. So you can run the ball on that Dallas defense, and you damn well better know that this Niner offense is going to run on them and going to run them over for that matter. Okay, I see it happening that the Niners do what they do best early on, pound the ball down Dallas's throat and get very physical with them, as we did with the Rams, and set the tone, especially when we're away, in which could be a very loud crowd. Although you never know with those Niner fans. I hope they show up and take over. I wish I could be one of them tomorrow. I'm in New York, though. But I'd love nothing more than to fly to Dallas, put on my one of my many 49er jerseys, and join that wonderful Niner Nation crowd there. But I think that the Niners are going to do what they do. They're going to do what they do, and that's going to be they're going to pound the ball down the throats of the Dallas Cowboys. And looking at this Niner offense, look at the many times that they've had so much good fortune running the ball, and you'll see again when they've been able to generate a lot of positive rushing yards. For the most part, they've done well. 131 against the Lions in a victory, 117 against the Eagles in a victory. Okay, 143 against Seattle and 152 against Arizona, and they lost both games. 111 in Indianapolis, and they lost. 145 over Chicago, and they won. 156 over the Rams, and they won. 171 for Jacksonville, and a win. 208 against the Vikings in a victory. 100 against Cincinnati in a victory. 162 over the Falcons in a victory. And 175 over Houston in a victory, and 135 let's over the Rams in a victory. So let's look at that for a second. Every time the Niners have gotten over 100 yards on the ground offensively, here is their record. Ready? Let's see. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 3-4, 4-4, 5-4, 6-4, 7, 8, 9, 10-4. What does that tell you? When this team runs the ball really well, they win. That's a fact. Which is even more of an interesting stat, is every time the Niners have been under 100 yards running the ball offensively, which they were against Green Bay when they had 67, which they were against Arizona the first time when they had 39, which they were against Seattle the first time they played them where they only had 71, and which they were against Tennessee when they had only 83. They are 0-4. In terms of this, the numbers don't lie. When they can't run the ball well, I'll put it to you this way, they have a harder time winning the game. But according to these numbers, every time that they've cracked 100 or more, they've been victorious. So that's what you're going to see tomorrow. You're going to see them go to pound that ball out big time. They're going to run that ball all day long. And I think they're going to have a lot of luck doing it because you're going to have the great blocking of Trent Williams, who's probably playing the best football of his career, future Hall of Famer, another All-Pro, best left tackle in football, bar none, blocking at a high rate. The very underrated Tom Copton, who's played great this season. Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack. That offensive line is going to be coming at that Dallas front big time and being victorious. Another thing they'll be doing by running that ball positively and slapping them in the face, being very physical, is they're going to take the clock away from the Dallas Cowboys and not allow their offense to get on the field. That's the key. That's the key for us to win. We know that about our 49ers. We know that how we are. We monopolize the clock and we take over. Now, looking at the Niner defense, early on they had some struggles. Week 1 they gave up 430 yards. I know they were garbage yards at the end, but still they took their foot off the gas in that first game to Detroit. They gave up 328 to the Eagles, 353 to Green Bay, 234 to Seattle, 304 to the Cardinals. And then things got better during the season. In the last 3 games, they've given up less than 300 yards. In the last 4 games, I should say. And they've been 3-1 there. On the ground, when they give up less than 100, they do well too. They only gave up over 100 yards and over on the ground this year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Every other game, they held their opponent under 100 yards. And the funny thing was, when they've held their opponent under 100 yards on the ground, okay, let's see, they were 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2. They were 7-2 when they hold their opponent under 100 yards on the ground. Now, Dallas Cowboys have that dual running game of Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard, so the Niners are going to have to put a lock on that, and I think they'll have no trouble doing that because they're getting great defensive pressure off of that interior 4. They're also getting Az Hashir back tomorrow. It'll be him, Dre Greenlaw, and Kurt Warner. You hear me? Fred Warner. So they'll have the total package, and they're getting great play up front from their linemen. Kentavious Street, Arden Key, Arik Armstead, the great Nick Bosa, DJ Jones. They're playing at an all-time high, so they're going to shut that running game down. I'm not even worried about that. They got to get after Dak. They got to get after Dak Prescott. Got to put that pressure on him, man. Got to put that pressure on him. You got to get on his ass. And I think that's what you're going to see a lot of. You're going to see him be pressured. Without a doubt. Cannot allow him to light it up through the sky. And I think that's what the Cowboys are going to have to try and do because they're not going to have luck running the ball. It's not going to work. This Niner team is going to be ready. They're well seasoned, man. We see them getting better each and every week. They're battle tested. They've played much better talent than the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that NFC West alone, right? That NFC West alone. Think about the teams that they've played this year. Green Bay, right? Arizona, twice. The Rams, twice. Cincinnati, Tennessee. Hey, man, done pretty damn good against some really good teams, and that's important, right? I mean, you knocked off the Rams twice. All right, you lost to Tennessee. You knocked off the Bengals. You're 3-1 right there in terms of playing against really good. You lost to the Cardinals twice. All right, so you're 3-3. You lost to the Packers 3-4, right? But we've played much better talent, and we've been in every game. I mean, when you look at the scores, we've been like I've said before. The only game we were really never in was the second time we played the Arizona Cardinals. Other than that, we were in every game. I mean, look at the losses. Lost to the Tennessee Titans, lost 20-17. Lost to Seattle, 30-23. Lost to the Colts, 30-18. But still, I think we were in that game. Lost to the Cardinals, the first matchup, 17-10. Lost to the Seahawks, the first matchup, 28-21. Lost to the Packers, 30-28. Lost that game on a field goal. We were in every game. So I'm not worried about this tomorrow. I'm looking forward to this tomorrow. I think we could possibly see a blowout. I think we could possibly see by the second quarter, by the end of the first half rather, that the Niners have pulled away. I think it's very imperative that they go up early. And I'm not talking about field goals. I'm talking about touchdowns. The way this defense is playing right now, the way they've been able to play when there have been injuries, has been a testament to who this team is. And the way they're going to play tomorrow, I think, is going to be 10 times even better because they'll be back as a unit. This defense has built themselves an identity all season long. And that's a very important thing. And I've really liked what I've seen out of that defensive backfield in recent weeks because they're getting healthier, they're getting players back, and they're getting tighter as a unit. And now with everybody most likely back from injury, there's no reason why we should have a hard time with this Dallas team. Because again, as talented as a team as I think Dallas is, and as legit, I think they are legit. But let's face it, you're playing against a more well-seasoned team that's been together more, right? The core of the 49ers have been together for 3 years. I mean, think about that too. This is how many players have we seen together from the Super Bowl team? Well, you got Garoppolo, you got Jeff Wilson Jr., Juice, so many more that have played together already. We're well seasoned. We're ticking. We're ticking. Last week's win was everything. I think that really has ignited us to a different level, to a level of being a much more dangerous team that certain people don't want to play. I don't think anybody wants to see us right now. If I'm looking at the NFC, all the teams in there, even Tampa Bay don't want to see us because Tampa Bay is beatable. As much as I think that they are still the team to beat because they won it all last year, they're beatable. Plus, they're a little bit depleted with the injuries that they've had to Mike Evans, to Godwin. Tough times running the ball. I don't think anybody. I'm sorry, they're not the class. I don't think they're the class of the NFC at this moment. I think we are. And I'll also say the Green Bay Packers, but I'm not really worried about that right now. A lot of teams don't want to play us. We could be a problem. We can beat any of those NFC teams, and you're going to see that tomorrow with the Dallas Cowboys. I think that we're going to not have that hard of a time with them. I'm looking. If I was going to put, kind of come up with a score for the game, I think by the half, I could see 17-3, maybe 23-7. That's the way I'm feeling about it. I really think that we can pull away early in that one and kind of try and allow, let them have to play catch up. And I think that we can force Dak into 2 interceptions. We can shut down their running game and hold Zeke to maybe 40. And we could kind of limit, do the best we can to limit their receivers and get maybe 4 or 5 sacks on Dak Prescott tomorrow. That's what I'm talking about. Get Earl Mitchell 89 yards or 90 yards. Use Deebo Samuel the way we've been using him, whether it's the run and the pass. Getting, Jimmy G throwing 2 touchdown passes, not throwing a pick, not getting sacked. I think it's all possible. I think it's exactly what's going to happen. I think Shanahan has coached lights out, as the season has gone on. He called the gem of the game last week. Called the gem of the game. You can say what you want about the guy. The guy is an amazing game caller. Extremely cerebral. I think he's a much better coach than McCarthy, without a doubt. I don't even think it's a comparison. Let's talk about D'Amico Ryans. Done a great job this year. Another gentleman who's up for a head coach. I don't want to lose him. A lot of teams are interested in him. I think the Vikings, right? The Vikings are interested in him. Done a great job. Not easy shoes to fill for the great Robert Saleh. Not very easy shoes to fill, and Ryans has done great. But he's got a great unit around him, too. They've responded well to him. I love seeing those packages where the linebackers blitz, especially last week. I think we're going to implement that more this week. And it throws a lot more confusion at our opponents, because usually, we're not known for to be a linebacker and blitzing team. Well, it sure shit looked good last week. And I think against a guy like Dak, who you got to get in his face, and you gotta, Dak's not really as much of a scrambler as we'd like to think, but I think you have to get in his face, hands up, and put that pressure on him, because he's not really a scrambling type like a Jalen Hurts, of course, or like a Lamar Jackson. No one's like a Lamar Jackson, even like a Josh Allen. He's not really like that at all. So we have to it'd be great to see those linebackers coming up through the holes and just hands up, pressuring him, forcing him into throwing that ball. That's what I think we're going to see tomorrow. I think these Dallas Cowboys are in for a big-time surprise, and I don't think they feel comfortable about playing us. I really don't think they do. I think that they did not want to draw us at all. No one did. Because the Niners are a deadly force right now. They're a deadly force to be reckoned with. And everyone knows that. So, what do I expect tomorrow? High-scoring game? Could be. I mean, high scoring from us? Yeah, why not? Their defense is beatable. Let's face it. They're a beatable defense. They're ranked 20th. Come on. And as good as your season as Micah Parsons has and Diggs, I don't expect them to be. I think we can isolate them. I'm not taking anything away from their talent. They're extremely talented players, but Micah Parsons is going to have a hard time tomorrow with George Kittle there, with Trent Williams there, with Kyle Juszczyk. They're going to be running right at them, smacking them in the mouth. I want to see how he responds to that. I think we're going to be in for, could be a 30 points for us and more. Maybe 31-14, maybe 31-17, maybe 30-13. I think it's possible. I think that the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to have an easy time scoring until later on, when it's pretty much out of hand. And the Boo Birds are going to come out. You're going to hear those Boo Birds. I want to hear those Dallas Cowboy Boo Birds come out as that sea of red swarms across the stadium. And Mr. Bosa puts the pressure on Mr. Prescott. I can't wait to see it. But one thing at a time, right? Before I start saying who the next opponent's going to be and all that. I think, again, this is a very winnable game for us. I like this matchup a lot more for us than I do for them, because there's no one way to match up with us. Everybody knows that. We can beat you with the run. We can kill you with the run. We can kill you with the pass, too. But we come at you so many different ways offensively that it's so hard. We can run the ball with Mitchell, with Wilson, with Jermichael Hasty, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Hell, with Kittle and Juszczyk if we have to. And again, seeing what I saw from Jimmy G last week, it's what we've all known about him. He's clutch. Jimmy G is clutch. He proved that last week. And for those non-believers, you're blind. You're haters. He's clutch. And that offensive line has done a great job all season, whether it's giving him time to throw the ball or solidifying that run game or getting up in the opposing defense's face and slapping the shit out of them. They done beat the shit out of the Rams. Twice. There's no reason why they can't do that to the Cowboys. Whatever. So, red and gold nuts. I can't wait for this game tomorrow. I've been looking forward to this all week long, man. And I've never had a doubt in my mind. I never had a doubt in my mind about this game. I feel great about it. I can't wait for it to happen. You know, I'm not looking at it like, I don't know, this is a questionable game. I don't know. I'm looking at it now. We're going to roll. We're going to roll over these Cowboys. We're going to roll over them. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. This is a tight squad, man. Experience is huge. Experience is so important. And this team has the experience. They're well seasoned. As good a season as the Cowboys have had, right? They're not that experienced when it comes to playing as a total unit or having a lot of a good length of time together because Dak wasn't with them all season last year long. Zeke was in and out of the lineup with injuries. CD Lamb and Amari Cooper and Dalton Schultz were there. But from a coaching standpoint, Shanahan's a much better coach than McCarthy. Much better. And that's why, again, game plan, going to get the ball offensively, hold the clock, and run the ball down your throat. And I'd love to get the ball first tomorrow, monopolize that clock for 6 to 7 minutes, end that with a touchdown, take the air right out of your fucking sails in your house. And I think that's what's exactly what we're going to see happen tomorrow. So, Niner nuts, Niner faithful, red and gold till I'm dead and cold, 49er fans all over. Let's go. Let's go. Cowboys are our first victim. Tomorrow, baby. Peace.